I'm Isabella, and today I argue that emotions are universal. Cultural and evolutionary research supports this claim. Cultures and groups isolated from media and other external influences still express and perceive emotions similarly. This illustrates how emotions are deeply rooted in human biology and not a learned experience. There are said to be 6 basic, universally recognized human emotions: happiness, sadness, anger, disgust, surprise, and fear. Studies by Charles Darwin and Paul Ekman explore emotional reactions cross-culturally. This includes Ekman's study from an isolated and remote community that did not have technological influences, but was still able to identify and express the basic emotions as the rest of the world does. An additional argument for the universality of emotion is that emotions can be related to the self-determination theory. This is because when psychological and physical basic needs are met, most humans will express some sort of positive emotion. The opposite is also true. These patterns of emotional expression strengthen the idea that emotions are universal and go beyond social and cultural influences.
My name is Zlata, and I will be arguing against the statement that emotions are universal. Emotions were defined by Antonio Damasio as them being the fuel that powers the psychological mechanism of a reasoning creature. He stated that they're highly complex and nuanced parts. This definition alone can state that they're not universal, as if they were, then we'd have a more in-depth understanding of them, since everyone would interpret everything the same. I will point out a study done by Glasgow that showed the difference in emotional experiences to a movie clip. I will also talk about the subjective experiences as one of the 3 emotional components and how it proves that we do not universally experience emotions. Lastly, I will discuss a study done by Rachel Jack that rebutes the claim that Darwin made about the 6 basic emotions as being universal.
Ekman describes emotions as an automatic response shaped by our past experiences to help us understand important events. His research in 1972 reveals the 6 basic emotions to be happiness, sadness, anger, disgust, surprise, and fear. Additionally, some emotions can control our facial expressions. Disgust, for example, is an easy to recognize expression as 2 facial muscles wrinkle the sides of the nose and raise the nares. This muscle action occurs only for the emotion of disgust, proving its unique yet universal expression.
A study done by Glasgow shows that while we may experience the same emotion to certain things, the extent will vary. In this study, they showed people clips of films and measured their reactions to it through brain signals and facial reactions. What was shown was that the emotions themselves were similar, but the intensity with which each person felt the emotion was different. While some people felt moderate fear and anger, others had stronger levels of it detected. This study shows that the emotional experience can vary by intensity.
Ekman's study on an isolated Indonesian tribe had as many differences as possible from Western cultures, including differences in emotional expression and beliefs. The Indonesian participants were given specific directions to produce a facial expression, and the autonomic nervous system activity was measured. The nervous system results were mostly the same as those of young American men and women. These similarities were obtained even though religious, social, family structure, economic state, and social norms differed tremendously, proving emotions are universal.
The University of West Alabama noted that emotions are made up of 3 components, one of which is a subjective experience. The subjective experience affects how we feel emotion, and it's made up of our personal experiences. So the culture and the childhood experiences of a person will shape the way that they experience emotion. For example, one person may feel sad or depressed about being fired, while another may be angry or not care at all. This shows that emotions are culture and experience specific.
Another argument is Darwin's research on cross-species similarities. This includes fear in dogs is presented as a tucked tail and widened eyes, whereas humans will also widen their eyes when scared. Happiness or joy can be seen in monkeys, how they make laughing-like sounds, the same as humans. Jealousy has even been studied in dogs, expressed by whining and nudging, like how humans react. Once again confirming that emotions are universal, as they are a part of human biology due to evolution.
A study done by Rachel Jack used people who are Western Caucasian and East Asian and provided an emotional stimulus to find out if Charles Darwin's theories of the 6 emotions being universal were accurate. The findings showed that different cultures and nationalities of people have different ways to express emotions physically. While Caucasian people were found to have distinct facial reactions to all 6 emotions, Asian people were found to have a significant overlap of facial reactions, making them harder to detect. The main overlapping emotions were surprise, fear, disgust, and anger. This study proved Darwin's study wrong and showed that emotions are not universal. Wait,
Oh, we gotta go again.
Go again.
Number 6.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect.
4. Okay.
I argue that the self does not exist. According to the American Psychological Association, self is defined as the whole individual, including all characteristics and attributes, conscious and non-conscious, both mentally and physically. One particular area of the body or brain cannot be identified as the self because touching comes from our external systems, decision-making happens in one brain region, emotions are processed in another section, and so on. If there was a self, it would be identifiable, would it not?
I will be arguing that the self does exist. Using Freud's theory on how the mind works with the iceberg representation may be accurate, but it does not take away the existence of the self. The reasoning is that if a person has 9/10 in the subconscious of their mind, then they still have access to it, even if it's not directly. They can still find out some things on how their ego works through self-exploration and reflection, thus opening their mind to themselves.
What we believe to be identity or self is shaped by external factors from social rules, relationships, and cultural norms, not from within. Ourselves is simply a reflection of the outside world that we live in. Additionally, because our self reflects external forces, we can change depending on where we are and who we are with, which many people agree to be true. Also, our memory fails us most of the time, relaying fragmented pieces of memory rather than reality, proving the self doesn't exist because if it did, memories would be accurate.
If the self did not exist, then we would not have different personality types, such as introverted and extroverted. These show that people who fall into a specific type, into one of the two types, act very differently. Introverts may speak quietly and thoughtfully while not wanting any attention, whereas extroverts will crave attention and speak in a loud manner, and they will act before they think. This proves the existence of the self.
Conditions like dissociative identity disorder, also known as DID, challenges the assumption that the self is a real entity. Individuals who experience DID are found to have multiple selves, each with a different personality, set of beliefs, values, and memories. This version of reality proves that the self cannot exist because if it did, such fragmentation would not be possible, concluding that what some people believe to be our self is simply a reflection of our outside world.
Michelle found that while people may act differently in different situations, the self might not seem to exist just from that information. People will act in similar ways when presented with a situation that's similar to the last one. For example, a person may be anxious at a party. If a person is anxious at a party, they will most probably be anxious at another party or at a similar place such as a busy store. This shows that the self exists as we have our own experiences that we draw from to build it.